There is a people in Africa that hunts one of the most dangerous snakes on the planet. Without gloves, without equipment, without anti-venom. The prey measures nearly 3 meters long. It is capable of spitting venom at a distance of 4 meters, and a single bite can destroy the flesh around the wound in just a few hours. We are talking about the giant African Naja, the largest spitting cobra in existence. And the Hadzabe, one of the last hunter-gatherer tribes in the world, face this animal with their hands, with sticks and with bows made from branches. This is not fiction. This really happens in the heart of Tanzania, and it is exactly what you are about to witness now. The sun has not yet fully risen over Lake Eyasi. The air is still cool. The savannah wakes up slowly. The first sounds are birds, then the crackling of a campfire. The Hadzabe are already on their feet. Some men prepare their bows, others align arrows with their teeth. This is how it is every day. Before the first light, they are already ready. There is no alarm clock. There is no scheduled routine. The body wakes up when it knows it is time, and hunger does the rest. The Hadzabe have lived this way for more than 50,000 years. They are approximately 1,300 people, divided into groups of 20 to 30, without chiefs, without permanent leaders, without written rules. Each group moves according to the seasons, 6 times a year on average, always following food, always following water, always following survival. Their territory lies in northern Tanzania, around Lake Eyasi, between the Rift Valley and the Serengeti Plateau. It is a dry land, hot, full of thorns, acacias and stones. The temperature can exceed 45 degrees during the day and drop below 10 at night. It is in this setting that the Hadzabe live, without warm clothing, without protection from the cold, without anything that most of us would consider essential. They have bows, arrows, digging sticks, 1 axe for every 30 people, sometimes a pot, sometimes a knife, and nothing else. Everything is shared. Everything is temporary. The only thing that remains is knowledge. But wait, there is something nobody tells you about this place. The savannah around Lake Eyasi is home to some of the most lethal snakes in East Africa. The black mamba, the puff adder, the black-necked spitting cobra, and the largest of them all, the Naja Ashe, the giant spitting cobra, an animal that can reach 2 meters and 70 centimeters, that weighs several kilos, that has a broad, flattened head, and that does not hesitate to attack. While most snakes flee when they sense a human presence, the giant Naja rises up, opens its hood, and spits directly at the eyes. And this is where it gets interesting. The Hadzabe do not avoid this cobra. They hunt it because for those who live off the land, wasting any source of protein is not an option. A snake of that size represents meat, real meat, enough to feed part of a camp. And in the savannah, when big game is scarce, everything that moves can become food. Everything that has flesh is useful. Everything that provides calories matters. Now comes the part that few people know. Hunting a giant Naja is not something that happens by chance. It begins long before the encounter. It begins with the eyes. Hadzabe hunters read the ground like you read a book. Every mark in the sand tells something. Every track has a meaning. They can tell a snake's trail from a lizard's trail. They can identify whether the animal passed minutes or hours ago. They can calculate the size of the snake by the width of the groove left in the dirt. This knowledge does not come from schools. It does not come from books. It comes from generations. Children of 3 years old already begin to learn. By 7, they already accompany the men into the bush. By 12, they already hunt small animals alone. By 15, they are fully formed hunters. Pay attention to this part. When a Hadzabe hunter finds the fresh trail of a giant Naja, he does not speed up. He slows down, because haste kills. Literally, the Naja Ashe is capable of spitting venom up to 40 consecutive times without stopping. The stream shoots with precision at nearly 4 meters distance. The venom reaches the eyes and begins to destroy the cornea immediately. Without treatment, blindness is permanent. And there, in the middle of the savannah, there is no hospital. There is no serum. There is no second chance. That is why every step is calculated, every movement is planned. The hunter approaches slowly. He uses vegetation as cover. He keeps his eyes half closed to reduce the area of exposure, and he carries a long branch in front of his body, always. The branch serves as both shield and distraction. When the cobra senses the presence, it rises, opens its hood, emits its characteristic hiss. It is a sound that anyone in the savannah knows, a sound that means danger, but the hunter does not retreat. He waves the branch. The cobra focuses on the movement. It spits at the branch, once, twice, 3 times. Each spit uses energy. Each spit reduces the venom reserve. And the hunter knows this. He is waiting. He is tiring the animal. He is exhausting its main weapon of defense. This process can last several minutes, sometimes more than 10. Patience here is not a virtue. It is a survival tool. But this is only the beginning. When the hunter senses that the cobra has already spent a good part of its venom, he changes strategy. Now the bow comes in. Hadzabe arrows are handmade. The bows are built from mutateco wood. The force needed to draw the string equals approximately 70% of the hunter's body weight. That means a pressure of more than 300 newtons. The arrows reach speeds exceeding 45 meters per second. At close range, they pierce skin, muscle, and bone. For large animals, the arrows are coated with poison, a black paste made from the sap of the desert rose. The scientific name is Adenium obesum. The Hadzabe call it panjuco. The sap is boiled until it becomes a sticky, dark substance. It contains cardiac glycosides, substances that enter the bloodstream and paralyze the heart of the prey. But for a snake, the process is different. No poison is used on the arrows. The reason is simple. The poison takes time to act. It can take hours to bring down a large animal, and a wounded snake that is still alive is more dangerous than a healthy snake. So the hunter needs absolute precision. 1 arrow to the head, or just behind it. A single shot, accurate, lethal. And that is exactly what happens. The hunter waits for the moment when the cobra stretches to spit again. In that instant, its body elongates. The head becomes exposed, and the arrow flies. What comes now changes everything. The moment of impact. The arrow strikes the najad just behind the head. The cobra's body twists violently. These are muscular spasms, reflexes that last minutes even after the animal is already dead. The entire savannah seems to hold its breath in that instant. The sound of the body hitting the dry earth is dull, heavy. The hunter does not approach immediately. He waits. He watches, because even a dead snake can cause harm. The fangs still contain venom. The muscles can still contract. A reflex bite can occur up to 30 minutes after death. Any carelessness now can turn victory into tragedy. So he waits. He uses the branch to touch the body. He checks for movement. He pushes the tail. He presses the trunk. He checks the rigidity. Only when he has absolute certainty does he approach. And even then, with extreme care. He takes the snake by the middle of the body, far from the head, always by the center, never by the extremes. And he begins the walk back to camp. The snake hangs from his shoulders like a living trophy from a silent war. And there is more. The snake is not just food, it is an event. When the hunter arrives at camp carrying a 2-meter naja, everyone stops. Women, children, other hunters. A prey of that size is celebrated, not with a party, not with shouts, but with the respectful silence of those who know that survival is guaranteed for 1 more day. Among the Hadzabe, food is divided equally. There is no hierarchy when it comes to eating. The hunter who killed does not eat first. Everyone receives their share. Organs like the liver and heart are consumed immediately, raw, still warm, because they are the most nutritious, and because in the savannah without a refrigerator, meat spoils quickly, very quickly. Now that you understand this, let us move on to something even more impressive, the preparation of the snake over the fire. First, the head is removed. Always. Even if the animal has been dead for a long time, the head is buried or discarded far from the camp, far from the children, far from the dogs, because the fangs retain venom for hours. A curious child or a hungry dog could be fatally injured. Then the skin is removed. The Hadzabe use simple knives, often blades made from old nails, traded with the neighboring tribe, the Datoga. The skin of the Naja is thick, scaly, resistant, but the fingers of the Hadzabe are skillful, accustomed to working with hard materials since childhood. The body of the snake is opened, the viscera are separated, nothing is wasted, the intestines are cleaned and set aside, the liver is consumed on the spot, the rest of the body is cut into pieces, not into thin slices, into large chunks, the size of a fist, because larger chunks roast better over fire. They retain more moisture inside, and they guarantee more tender meat at the center. This culinary knowledge is not in any recipe book. It is in the practice of thousands of years of open-air cooking, over hot stones, over embers, over the same fire that warms the body during the night. The Hadzabe fire is made from scratch. Every time, they use comifora wood. They spin a rod against a base until friction generates enough heat to ignite. The process takes less than a minute in the hands of an experienced hunter. The smoke that rises smells of resin. The same tree that provides the wood for the fire also produces a sap that works as insect repellent. Nothing is random. Everything has a function. Everything has a purpose. Pay attention to this part. The pieces of snake are placed directly on the embers, without a pot, without a grill, without a utensil. The meat touches the coals. The fat drips and makes the flame rise. The smell is strong, different from any meat you have ever smelled. The texture is firm, more similar to chicken than to fish, but with a flavor of its own. Earthy, naturally smoked by the comifora wood. The Hadzabe women also participate. They prepare tubers alongside the meat, wild roots dug up with wooden sticks, roasted over the same fire. The outer shell burns and is removed. The inside reveals a yellow pulp, rich in calories, essential to complement the protein from the meat. But wait, there is something nobody tells you. Snake meat must be well cooked, not for taste, for safety. Although the Naja's venom is deactivated by heat, the Hadzabe know from experience that undercooked meat can cause digestive problems, so they roast it for a prolonged time. They turn the pieces several times. They wait until the exterior is completely charred before eating. It is a slow process. It can take more than an hour until all the pieces are ready. And during that time, the camp gathers around the fire. Imagine the scene. The sun is low. The savannah takes on orange and golden tones. Smoke rises among the acacias. 20 people sitting in a circle, children playing with small bows, men repairing arrows, women nursing. And at the center of everything, the fire, with pieces of snake roasting slowly. The sound of fat crackling over embers mixes with the sound of wind through the thorns. Nobody is in a hurry. Nobody looks at a watch. Because watches do not exist here. Time is measured by the position of the sun, by the phases of the moon, by the behavior of animals. When the honey-guide birds begin to sing in a certain way, the Hadzabe know that hives are nearby. When zebras gather at certain points, they know the water is running out. When insects change their behavior, they know rain is coming. This is a scene that has repeated itself for millennia. Before agriculture, before cities, before everything we know as civilization, The Hadzabe live like this, in the purest present that exists, and this is where it gets truly interesting. The Hadzabe know snakes like few peoples in the world. They know that the Naja Ashe prefers dry, rocky areas. They know it is most active during the hottest hours of the day. They know it hides in abandoned burrows, old termite mounds, and cracks between rocks. They know it enters camps at night looking for rodents, and they know how to treat a bite. The plant they use is called sansevieria, a type of African mother-in-law's tongue. The leaves are crushed and applied to the bite site. It works as a natural anti-inflammatory. It reduces swelling. It relieves pain. It does not replace a hospital antivenom, but in the absence of any medical resource, it is better than nothing, and they have known this for generations. Now comes the part that will surprise you. The Naja Ashe is not only the largest spitting cobra in the world, it is capable of injecting a much greater quantity of venom than any other similar species. A single specimen collected in Kenya produced more than 6 milliliters of venom in a single extraction. That is equivalent to nearly 7 grams of toxic substance, of which nearly 3 grams were pure toxins. A quantity capable of killing, capable of blinding, capable of destroying tissue in just a few hours. We are talking about one of the most efficient biological weapons in nature, and the Hadzabe face this with a branch, a bow, and the courage of someone who has no other choice. Think about what it means to live like this. Every day, without exception, without vacations, without rest, without any guarantee that the next meal will appear. Hadzabe men go out to hunt before dawn. They walk kilometers, often barefoot, over sharp stones, over acacia thorns that pierce the sole of the foot, over ground so hot it burns the skin. They do not complain. They do not stop. They keep walking, eyes fixed on the ground, looking for tracks, looking for signs, looking for any indication that something edible was there. Sometimes they return with a baboon, the preferred animal to hunt during the new moon, sometimes with small birds, sometimes with a porcupine pulled from its burrow among the rocks, and sometimes with a snake. Their diet is completely wild. Nothing is cultivated. No animal is raised. Everything comes from nature: meat, honey, baobab fruits, tubers, roots, wild berries. And, when the opportunity appears, snakes. Honey is perhaps the most valued food. The men climb baobabs more than 20 meters tall, without rope, without equipment, using only their hands and feet. They carry fire torches to drive away the bees, and they are guided by a bird, the honey guide, a bird that flies ahead of the hunters. It emits specific calls, and it leads them directly to the hive. In return, the bird eats the leftover wax and larvae. It is a partnership between species that has existed for thousands of years, without a contract, without an agreement, only instinct and mutual trust. Could you last a week? Most of us would not last a day. Without a phone, without a map, without a supermarket, without running water, without permanent shelter, without any of the things we consider basic, without medicine, without doctors, without anything to protect us from the consequences of a mistake. A deep cut can get infected, a fall can break a bone, a snake bite can mean the end. And yet, the Hadzabe thrive. They live, they laugh, they raise their children, they grow old together. Life expectancy is low if we count infant mortality, but adults who survive childhood frequently reach old age with a health that astonishes researchers. Without diabetes, without hypertension, without obesity, without the diseases that devastate the modern world. The gut microbiome of the Hadzabe is considered the most diverse ever recorded in human populations. More than 100 grams of fiber per day, 6 times more than the Western average. Bacteria of the genus Treponema help the women digest fibrous tubers. The gut flora changes with the seasons, adapting to what is available. Researchers from universities like Duke discovered something fascinating. Despite being physically much more active than any person in an industrialized society, the Hadzabe spend practically the same amount of calories per day. It is what is called the exercise paradox. The human body adapts, optimizes, redistributes energy, and the Hadzabe are the living proof of it. But to understand what comes next, you need to know one thing. The relationship between the Hadzabe and the savannah is not only practical, it is spiritual. They believe the land is alive, that animals have a purpose, that killing without need is an offense to the natural order. That is why when a hunter takes down a giant naja, he does not celebrate as if he won a battle. He acknowledges the sacrifice of the animal. He acknowledges that this snake existed with a purpose, and that now that purpose has changed. Now it serves to feed, to nourish, to keep the next generation alive. The Hadzabe have a nighttime ritual called epeme. It takes place during the new moon, when the darkness is total. The men dance around the campfire. They emit guttural sounds. They stomp their feet against the ground. It is a sacred moment closed to women and children, and it is there that the most ancient knowledge is transmitted, the names of the plants, the secrets of the seasons, the hunting techniques, the ways to avoid a snake's venom. Everything is transmitted through the spoken word. Because the Hadzabe have no writing, they never have. Their language, Hadzain, is an isolated language. It has no kinship with any other known language. It contains clicks and pops that no other language on earth reproduces in exactly the same way. Fewer than 1,000 people still speak this language fluently. And every time an elder dies, an entire library goes dark. That explains a lot. But it does not explain the main thing. Why do the Hadzabe keep living this way? Others have already tried to settle them. The British government tried during colonization. Missionaries tried to convert them. The Tanzanian government offered land for farming. No attempt worked. They simply returned to the savannah. Because for the Hadzabe, modern life is what seems strange. They look at cities and see disconnected people, distracted, lost, removed from their roots, removed from themselves, and they choose consciously to remain as they are. Not out of ignorance, out of conviction. 90% of the Hadzabe's original territory has already been invaded. Neighboring pastoral tribes like the Datoga and the Maasai advanced over their lands. Ranchers clear areas for pasture. Wild animals decrease. Water sources dry up. Private game reserves closed off entire areas, and the Hadzabe were squeezed, with less and less space, with fewer and fewer options, and yet they resist. They hunt with wooden bows, they cook over fires made with their hands, and they face giant cobras with branches and courage. The meat of the naja is divided among everyone. The elders eat the softer pieces first, the children receive smaller portions, the hunters keep the more fibrous parts. Nobody complains, nobody negotiates, nobody hoards. This sharing system is what keeps the group united. It is what prevents conflicts. It is what ensures that everyone survives. In a world where accumulating is synonymous with success, the Hadzabe demonstrate that sharing is synonymous with endurance. The bones of the snake are also put to use. Some vertebrae are used as improvised tools. Others are given to the children as toys. The skin, when in good condition, can be used as trading material with neighboring tribes. The Datoga provide metal tips for arrows. In return, they receive meat, honey, or leather. It is an economy without money, without currency, without banks, and it has worked for thousands of years. The day ends as it began, with fire. The same campfire that cooked the snake now warms the bodies. The children huddle around it. The elders tell stories. They speak of times when animals were larger. They speak of ancestors who hunted elephants with spears. They speak of the giant snakes that lived among the rocks around the lake. And the children listen, with their eyes wide open, with their hearts racing, absorbing every word, because tomorrow It will be them who hunt. It will be them who face the Naja. It will be them who feed the group. The sun sets once more over Lake Ayasi, the same colors as always, orange, red, violet. The silhouette of the acacias cuts across the horizon. The smoke from the campfire rises slowly, and the Hadzabe are there, where they have always been, doing what they have always done, surviving in the purest way that exists, without technology, without comfort, without guarantees, only skill, courage, and a connection to the land that most of us forgot even existed. Tomorrow, it all starts again, as it has for 50,000 years, and as long as there is a Hadzabe standing, with a bow in hand and fire in their gaze, this way of living will not disappear. Some things withstand time, not because they are simple, but because they are true.